Welcome to 100 hardcore days of the new 1.19 Minecraft Wild update. I know nothing about this update, so let's see how I can do surviving these 100 days. Day 1, we started simple. I made some stone tools, and while exploring, I found a ruined portal. I collected some basic resources and food, and when night began to set, I headed underground to fight some mobs and get some ores. On day 2, I managed to mine enough iron to make full iron armor. After that, I went back to the surface and found enough sheep so I could make a bed. I decided I probably need a house for the series and made a little shack by the water. My first night sleeping leads me into day 3. Today I got some more resources and finished my temporary home. And then I made a chicken pit. You know what? Don't ask questions, just hit that subscribe button. And instead, let's move along because I went back underground to try and get some more coal and iron and hopefully some diamonds. I spent day 4 and 5 just mining and I found my first bit of lapis. This will be useful later for enchanting. I also found a glow squid. Thanks, stream, I guess. Day 6 wasn't crazy. I built an animal pen and got some cows that were nearby my house into it and also harvested a little bit of wheat from my farm. In day 7, I went back underground and found my first diamonds. Or should I say diamond? It was only one. But luckily, I found another singular diamond. What the? Day 8 and 9 weren't too bad. I spent most of my time mining, but ran into some mobs that gave me some trouble. I didn't come too close to death, but definitely my closest experience so far. I also found a mine shaft, but it was pretty bad to be honest. On day 10, I worked my way back home and took care of my farm and bred my animals. With the diamonds from my mining trip, I decided to make an enchanting table to get some basic enchants. After that, I decided to put some hoppers in the chicken hole. That way I could build a automatic chicken farm in the future. Here I took a break for around 6 days to let my egg collector run. And I also harvested my farms a few times between. And look at all these eggs. This worked way better than expected. So now I have to make my first trip to the nether in order to get some quartz to make this automatic chicken farm. I spent day 17 collecting materials in order to build an automatic cooked chicken farm that I found on YouTube. And then I built it and filled it with enough chickens that if I fell in this hole, I would be killed due to entity cramming. This thing's a little bit more dangerous than I thought. Day 18 was boring, so we're just going to skip to day 19, where I found a zombie spawner with some horrible loot inside the chest. And just a little bit away from that spawner, I finally found some more diamonds after not finding any for a while. It has seriously been way too long. On day 20, while I was mining some diamonds, this zombie also distracted me so a creeper could blow me up. If you don't know, in hardcore mode, creeper explosions are extremely deadly, so this was probably one of my closest calls to death. On day 21, I decided I wanted more food, so I made a farming tower to farm some wheat and other crops just to make sure I have a little bit of everything just in case. Day 23, I did my first level 30 enchant on my pickaxe and got fortune 2 on it. Nice. In day 24, I found a nice village that isn't too far from my base. This will definitely come in handy later. Finally, in day 25, I find one of the new updates to 1.19. It's called a Mangrove Swamp, and it has these weird trees that I struggled with a little bit. But it looks cool, and this biome seems quite small, or at least the one I got. I also found a frog in it, which looked cool, but I didn't know if they dropped anything, and there's only one way to find out. Oh, sorry, buddy. Day 26 had a weird start with these villagers right here. Yeah, let's just ignore that. I decided to kidnap one of the villagers in the village to bring back to my home, which this took an entire day to do. On day 27, I finally relocated my first villager, now just to find them a lover. I spent the rest of day 27 and 28 capturing my second villager. Hopefully I won't have to do this again. I spent days 29 and 30 trying to level myself up so I could level 30 enchant a diamond sword to protect myself from any mobs. Luckily, by day 31, I could enchant my sword. And I only got fire aspect. That was a waste of time. On day 32, I spent some time making my villagers a space underground filled with beds so that way they could breed and have more villagers that I could use for trading later on and get some basic materials. After my sad enchant on the diamond sword, on day 33, I went back to the nether to mine some quartz since it gives a lot of XP and there's a ton of it in the nether. I also managed to hit a fireball back at a ghast. On day 34, I decided to test my luck on enchanting again. Let's start out with the helmet where I got Unbreaking 3. You know what? The next item has to be better. So let's try my sword. and only sharpness 3. I am never going to gamble. The only highlight of today is that my villagers had babies. I started my first building project between day 35 and 40, which required me to gather a lot of wood so I could build my new house. Planting and growing acacia trees took a while, and even then, all this wood wasn't enough, so I decided to take a break for day 41 and go to the nether. After exploring the nether, I finally found a fortress, so now we finally get blaze rods. Outside of the fortress, there's some pigmen stuck on a tiny island, and my friends convinced me to save them. So I did. Comment #saved if you've made it this far into the video for them. Luckily, not long after entering the fortress, I found a blaze spawner, and I stayed there for a little bit to get some blaze rods for when I get some pearls, so that way we could find the stronghold. I decided 12 blaze rods was enough, and I was happy with that to get to the end portal. I spent the rest of day 41 and day 42 exploring my way back through the nether to get back to my portal, and I ended out the day getting home. Now, there was a lot of grinding between day 42 and day 62, which is insane. This was probably one of the hardest parts of this challenge, and it took me over 3 hours to breed a ton of villagers and then move them into trading booths close to my house, which that part didn't take too long. But what really took a while was after that, I had to grind to get tons of sticks, different crops, and glass bottles to trade with these villagers in order to get emeralds for future trades. And the reason why this also took a while is because once you trade with the villagers a certain amount of times, they will lock you out of that trade until the next day. So this process took forever. In the middle of that, since I was getting a lot of levels, I decided to finally re-enchant my diamond sword. And when I did, I managed to get sharpness 4 and fire spec 2, which this is a lot better than just sharpness 3. After enchanting my sword, I decided now would probably be a good time to head back into the nether to try and find some endermen to see if I could find some blaze rods. I did this for like an hour or two, and I could only find a handful of endermen. But luckily, I got my first ender pearl, and that's about it. While I was exploring the nether, I decided to go back to the nether fortress to explore it a little bit more to see if I could find anything. And while going through it, I managed to find a horse saddle and diamond horse armor, which this could be really useful in the future for traveling. So I took it and then decided to head home to see if maybe I could get ender pearls from villager trading. Day 61 was another day of grinding for some materials so that way I could trade with the villagers. I also enchanted another diamond sword, which wasn't great on its own, but when I anviled it with my previous diamond sword, this made one of the best swords I could possibly get. So this was going to help me out a lot. After that, I spent day 62 trading, and at the end of the day, I finally got a villager that could trade me ender pearls. This is going to help a ton. I had a big scare on day 64 because while breeding my chickens, I started getting hurt due to entity cramming. This kind of damage goes through any armor you're wearing and can kill you instantly if you stay in it long enough. So I had to get rid of some of my chickens so this wouldn't happen again. On day 65, I decided to search for the end portal. Even though I did not have enough eyes of ender yet, I would at least know where the portal is and how many more eyes I would need to light it. I found a horse on the way, so I could use that saddle and horse armor I found earlier and hopefully find the portal a lot faster. Luckily, I only lost one eye on the way, and on day 66, I managed to dig down and find the stronghold and then locate the portal. Day 68, I was just trying to get more ender pearls, so it was a lot of the same old boring trading and grinding until we could hopefully get enough to be able to light up that end portal. Since after day 68, I had enough ender pearls to light up the end portal, I decided to take a break and chill on day 69. And what a better day than to spend it with my villagers. There's no particular reason why I spent this day with them, but I just thought it might be fitting for the occasion. So I just kind of sat there with them until day 70. On day 70, I had to run to the end portal on foot because I somehow lost my horse. I don't know how this happened, but this run took an entire day. And finally, on day 71, I entered the end and had a super intense fight with the Ender Dragon. Just watch this. Finally, on day 71, I have killed the Ender Dragon, but that's not the only reason why I'm in the end. I also want to get a pair of elytras so I could fly. So now it's time to staircase up and go through the portal so I could search for an end city. After a bit of searching on day 72, I finally found an end city, and it has a floating ship. So I pillared my way, hoping that a shulker wouldn't hit me on the way up, and made my way down the ship to grab the elytras sitting right there. And then after that, I went back to the top of the ship to grab the dragon head just because it looks cool. After that, I made my way over to the rest of the city to get some shulker shells and also loot chests to get myself some better gear. While I was searching for a portal to get out of the end, I actually found another end city with a ship. So I decided to go through it and loot it just so I could get the extra pair of elytras and also the gear. Because some of the gear in these end cities is insane. Like, it can be protection for diamond armor. So I ran through it real quick, grabbed whatever I can, and I started searching again for a portal until I eventually found one. And after that, I went back into the overworld. On day 74 and day 75, I tried to get a villager to give me a mending book so I could put it on my elytra and all of my armor and tools so I wouldn't have to worry about them anymore. And on day 75, I finally got a mending book, and this was my live reaction to it. Mending, yes! On day 76, I got enough emeralds to buy the mending book. But if you look closely, you will see that for some reason, my villager's book switched to fire protection. And recording this, I did not notice, and I bought the book. I don't understand how this happened, but trust me, when I found this out, I was super mad. Since I wanted to max out my elytra, I spent all of day 76 trying to get an Unbreaking 3 book, because I still didn't notice that I didn't actually have a mending book at this point. Sadly, it became night, and I spent all day trying to get an Unbreaking 3 villager, but I just couldn't get one. But since it was night, I needed gunpowder to get some fireworks, so that way I could use these elytras once they're fully maxed out. And when I started to go out to hunt creepers, I actually found my horse that I lost. I luckily found it, but after that, I spent the rest of the night killing creepers. That way I would easily be able to fly around my world. On day 77, I finally noticed that I did not have a mending book. So I had to take care of that scammer villager, bring over a new one, and attempt to get another mending book and buy it instantly to make sure I would not be scammed again. Luckily, by the end of day 78, I was able to get all the books I needed, and I combined them with my elytra to get a maxed out elytra, so that way I could fly for a while. I decided to try out my new wings and attempted to search for a pillager tower so I could find some allies to bring them back to my base. I don't really have a use for them, but I just wanted to find some because they look cool. On day 79, I found an abandoned shipwreck and some buried treasure, which was nice. And I also found an outpost later in the day. But sadly, there were no allies here. But I did learn that my gear is pretty powerful and that I could take on pillagers pretty well with it. On day 80, while exploring, I found a singular block that was a mushroom biome. This was really weird, but I moved on and kept searching. Finally, on day 82, I found a pillager tower, and they had allies. These pillagers were super annoying, and after learning that I have to walk all the way home with the allies, or else they wouldn't follow fast enough, it took me an entire 2 days just to walk them all the way home, and I still lost one on the way to the base. I spent the entirety of day 84 trying to trap the 2 allies into a glass box inside my house. And this took forever, but luckily, after trying, I finally got them locked in, and it was the end of the day. I spent both days 85 and 86 in the nether, so I could try to get some wither skulls, so I could fight the wither on day 100. On day 85, I managed to get my first skull after a while, and on day 86, I managed to get both skulls that I needed for the wither. Luckily, with my looting 3, that didn't take too long. I spent day 87 putting my brewing skills to the test and making some potions for the fight. I made some strength potions, speed, and also turned some of the instant health potions I got from the end cities into splash potions. From days 88 to day 89, I decided to prepare a little bit more and to try to get enough emeralds so I could buy mending books for all my armor so it doesn't break anytime soon. Luckily, I was able to get enough emeralds and buy enough mending books from all my villagers, and I was able to put it onto my gear. So hopefully that's something I shouldn't have to worry about if the series continues. Since during these 100 days, I have been living in pretty cramped spaces, so I decided to take it and spend days 90 to day 99 collecting a ton of wood. I mean, like, a lot. I'm commentating and I'm currently still cutting wood, so that's how you know it's a lot. But after cutting down tons of trees, I wanted to make a big expansion on my house. So I started framing out my expansion, and then I started building it out so I would have a lot more space. This took a lot of wood, stone, glass, but it was definitely a needed upgrade after all of our tiny shacks that we've had throughout this journey. And now that I had my giant expansion built out, I then looked at my house and saw that I was sick of the 6 unorganized chests in my main area. So I took on the task of making a little storage area and then sorting out all my different items into these chests. And this looks so much better. I even built a little area for our dragon egg to show it off, but this is just so much better. Finally, we have reached day 100 in the hardcore world. This is insane, and if you've watched all the way through this, just make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. But from here, I grabbed all my materials for the wither fight, flew away from my main base so this wouldn't destroy everything I have built over the last 100 days, and I started to build the wither. And there we go. We have killed the wither. I was definitely over prepared for this fight, but that ends day 100 and the video. Thank you for watching.